Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. I'm so happy that today we have the opportunity to discuss with Steffen Maas about the rise of AI agents. And yeah, I'm very honored that Steffen is joining me today. And just to briefly introduce you, you have been running Ginkgo Analytics, a consultancy about AI for quite a while. And right now, let's say, not too long ago, you just founded a new company called AI.Impact, and also helping companies to build AI and solve their problems using really cool technology. And I'm very pleased to have you here. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
joining, Steffen.
thanks for the invitation, Andreas. It's a pleasure.
Cool. Yeah, we had a very, very interesting time, let's say, during the last days, especially also, even though we want to focus a bit on talking about AI agents. But nevertheless, I think we can hardly start this conversation without talking about especially what happened during the AI Action Summit in Paris. And that was quite impressive. So I think most of you have maybe seen some of the conversations during this event, and you have seen, let's say, a speech of JD Vance that became in partly a part of the society even more famous than the one he had at the Munich Security Conference. And you saw a lot of worldwide leaders, not only Macron, sitting in the first row and listening to what he said, and that was quite impressive. So for me, it was just wow, that's something big here. What was your perception about this, Steffen?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I listened to the whole speech, and I must say, very well done. It's from the level of a Steve Jobs, where you can't just turn it up or turn it down. You had to listen to it, and I think also from the content-wise, it was very clear, articulated. Where I would wish that we have more leaders, also in the politics, especially in Germany, which have a clear vision from that on AI and see what can be done and see it, as he says, as an opportunity and not as a risk or a threat, at least not in the first place. I really liked
Yeah,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Of course, on the one hand, it was quite impressive. On the other hand, it was quite also frightening. Also, as a European looking at this, so of course, the US, especially if you have a legislation like it has been just recently elected, of course, where not everybody is really happy with, so to speak. And you see, all right, these guys pretty much have a plan. And it
Mhm.
feels like in Europe, we hardly have one. Yeah, especially not coming, especially in Germany. Of course, even though in France it looks like all right. So maybe others have a different point of view here, but especially also looking at Germany. So especially when we look at our elections that are currently happening, so AI doesn't feel to be pretty much on the agenda, or it feels like all right. Okay, where was our chancellor during this conference, and or somebody else maybe who really steps into this and say, wow, that's an important topic, but it doesn't really feel like this. It feels like the world is basically moving on forward, but Germany is especially not very much into this. What do you think, Steffen?
Yeah, I think it feels like okay, there's a next industrial revolution ongoing, but we are just ignoring it and continue to use our manual machines and our fax machines. And I completely see it in a similar way. I would love that anybody from politics would be there to really also make a statement, because in Germany we have this huge potential. We have a lot of talents. We have a lot of technologies. We have AI centers. We have great startups, and we have great solutions. And I mean, you can just take what is there and put some light on it, as Macron did it with Mistral, and just say, look what we have, and we want to support this. We want to grow this, and this is what I was missing in the politics.
Yes, it doesn't really feel like, all right, this is something where we really need to invest.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes I feel a bit heartbroken, honestly speaking. Of course, especially of course other countries in Europe do a bit better, but I think without a unite, very strong Europe focusing also on new technologies. So you see A lot of industries are going down or going down. Energy prices are going high. What do we do now? Yeah, and other countries pretty much have a much better plan here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must say, of course, it's a threat currently that there are people coming to the power which say US first. But I personally see it also as an opportunity for Europe to step up and get out of this shadow of the huge players in the US and China and say, we need independence, we need own solutions, we need own infrastructure, we need an own plan. And I hope that at least some people woke up and said, okay, now is the time that we have to act. And I'm doing this since a lot of years, and I'm always talking about AI, trying to wake up people and try to motivate them and enable them. And currently, I have the impression that we have reached a point where hopefully everybody is aware of what is happening and yeah, is doing something with it.
Yeah. I think it's always like, especially with AI, and it's like with many industries, as we have seen it with many industries in the automotive industry, where let's say horse is not really used for transportation anymore, and with many other industries. So in the very beginning, it's not that good, yeah, but it involves very quickly. But you need to adapt it early to let's say get the most leverage out of it, and not just wait until everybody already have it, because then pretty much you're the loser in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is one very important topic, of course, what is right now also pretty much rising a lot in the terms of in terms of AI, and that's the topic about the agents. So
Mhm.
I pretty much remember very well when we sat together. I think it wasn't too long ago. It was last year during the summertime, sitting on a nice boat on the lake of Ulster and having a coffee there. And we are discussing, let's say, the different evolution steps, especially about LLMs and where this is pretty much going. And you told me at that time, pretty much, look, this is the next level. That's the agent. And of course, you have so much also background in this, also not just seeing this just coming for the last half a year, but of course, working on that particular space for quite some time. So it would be just amazing if you can give us a, let's say, a certain overview or how you see agents in the area of AI. What does this mean in terms of evolution? What is your thought on this?
Yeah. We are seeing that there are different steps which are going to be taken while approaching to the AI agents. And everything was beginning with generative AI, where we had the first level of generative large language models, which actually are a shift of transformation in the technology. So we are coming from deep learning and machine learning to technology which actually provides you a world model and a general intelligence which you can query, yeah, which gives you the ability to completely differently interact with this technology. And this we call this intelligence revolution, because currently suddenly you have all this knowledge where normally you have to study months and years are in a model, and you can bypass all this learning and this going to school. And this was the first level, and this was already a revolution. Yeah, the ChatGPT usage was going through the roof in a very short amount of time because there was so huge benefits already with this level. Then in the next phase, we have seen that companies wanted to use this technology, and that was the technology of, I would call it AI assistance, where you have a wide variety of large language models adapted to the corporate environment. So people could chat with their own data, access their own databases, and so on. So that was a shift in productivity already, because you could get your individual feedback out of this model. And then we have seen also different technologies like RAG, where you can access individual documents, or you can inject go into databases and get it out. So that is the level where most of the companies and most of our customers are currently at. Yeah, so they're very happy with their assistants and they can chat and they're already happy. And some even didn't make it there. So just saying. But we already have some customers which are dealing with AI agents. And it's just a handful, I must say, because it's really state of the art. And it's really, you have to be early adopter to really, really use it. The good thing is the technology is advancing here very, very fast. And if I look and talk to different people and ask them, what is your understanding of AI agents? It's quite crazy because you ask 10 people and get 9 different answers, and everybody has a different understanding. And it just from my perspective, I already thought this into different levels. So actually, the AI agent difference is towards an assistant that you give it a target and the AI agent tries to achieve this as good as possible. And then you have these different levels of autonomy, where the agent is able to solve this problem or reach a goal. And I see a lot of solutions which are just at the first level where you have a programmatic approach where you have a clear rules and regulations where you say, okay, if this happens, then do this and this and this, and maybe use some large language models in between to solve things like aggregate information, extract information, write email which is a bit personalized. So that's the first level. But I personally say, it's not really an AI. You could name it like this, but the real fun starts when you really give it an own free space to act. So that's the next level where you have these models which are actually used by these agents, and where you can give it really a specific instruction, or even on the next level where you give it a specific goal and say, reach this goal. And then the agent starts to think and say, okay, to reach that goal, I must do the following. And then he plans ahead and makes a plan and say, okay, I do this, 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 this. And then depending on what happens in between, I adapt my my doing and do different things because, okay, that didn't work, I try something else. So that's the level. I must say personally, for me, this feels like an agent. I could ask the agent something similar like a coworker and say, can you help me with this? And then you get a real good result. But then at least it starts to get funny, because then you can also give it not only a goal, but a target function where it can say, do this as efficient as possible, or as fast as possible, or as economical as possible. And then these agents get a reward function, where they try different things to get the best result. And that's the thing where things are really getting funny. And then and on the last level, we also see that we are not only talking about individual agents which solve one goal, but rather talk about multi-agent structures where you have different agents solving different goals, and then they interact with each other. And this is my favorite area, where I really love, because this is getting crazy, because currently we are talking just about agents which talk to a person. But if we look into the near future, we are talking about networks where agents are talking to agents, and then it's really getting crazy. So what is your understanding of AI agents, if I would ask you?
Yes, thank you very much for the very nice overview you gave us. So of course I see also a very, very big added value, and I guess we will see it in a lot of different areas of life, not only just in business life where we are most likely focusing on, but also in personal life. So I guess you will see a lot of agents taking care let's say, bigger tasks. Of course, everybody knows a bit. There's a very unpersonalized Siri right now, or we have a Google Assistant, and that's also right now, of course, it's a bit lagging. We don't have the Apple Intelligence in Europe yet, so coming a bit later. We have it partly on the Mac, but not on iOS yet. So of course, more and more there will be also coming AI into personal lives. But I think there's still a big lever that this is involving. Right now, we are just, as you just said, we're talking right now about if Apple Intelligence is there, we're talking about one basically agent kind of who is able to deal with a lot of different things. But when it comes to really a multi-agent environment, just looking at that space, I can pretty much imagine that this will make a real big difference because you can plug in really cool features in your daily assistance. And it feels like, all right, so in terms of the way how people interact with systems, it pretty much seems to be that speech is the way. And this is from my perspective, and this is where I think speech is also the language of the agents. So it's not, let's say, having virtual glasses and these kind of things. So I think this is how people also experience working with an HomePod, working with, let's say, a way of discussing with a system about different things. And as we used to have it also with ChatGPT on the phone, but let's say if we see how this is right now funneling also into something, I pretty much think this will be not here is the device and there is the device. There will be just one chatbot that basically has the integration of the features that you want to have. And so I think it will be much more personalized in many regards. So this is my personal view. I think we are just starting something new here. So this is why I said, all right, it's really the rise of AI agent because we're starting into something really new. And it's not what we know from currently talking to Siri or so. It's something pretty much right now. Okay, there is an agent who is just booking my flights, my next holiday, with everything. I can talk to him all the time, just saying, "Oh, what is currently the status? Oh, there was a request coming from the owner of the property, welcoming you, whatever, giving you the information about the key." So there's just one basically agent you're talking with, and it covers basically all your needs. So this is basically how I can imagine this can pretty much change our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you remember the presentation from Google where they presented Duplex.
Mhm.
I think it's already a few months or even years back, but this was like a very insightful presentation because they showed on the phone an assistant which booked a haircut for you. Yeah, so he was phoning to another shop owner and making the appointment, asking questions, and so on. So, and completely autonomous. And that was an amazing piece of technology. I'm wondering why they didn't really roll it out. I hope it was not because of the EU AI Act, because this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really helpful. But if I can brief that assistant or agent and say, do it, and then give me the result. And if you need to ask any questions, then come back to me. Otherwise, just do it. And I think the first thing where we will see it in action is in the B2C space. So as you said, on the iPhone or with Siri, that we can give it tasks and say, summarize my emails and then write appropriate answers. But I think it's really great to see it in the B2B space. Yeah, so that is where the magic happens and where all this value is created. And we look into different functions and yeah, maybe it's time also to talk about procurement here, because I see a huge advantage here because you have a lot of value which you can create. And we were working a lot with enterprise functions, and I do feel the pain when you can automate these tasks. So what are you doing in this space? I know, but can you summarize
Yeah.
what doing in this area?
Yeah, of course. So I think it's pretty much similar to what we also basically see in the B2C space from my perspective, but it's of course a bit behind normally. So let's say when you everybody learns without any explanation how to buy something on Amazon very easily, but when it comes to business application, you always need a 3-day training. So this is where we're bit coming from, and also, of course, in the private space, of course, there's crazy amount of users, and that's of course where things are coming from. But basically, talking about businesses, and there's a lot of things happening there as well. So especially looking at agents. So what we see, let's say, as me as a startup founder in the procurement area. So of course, I see what's happening in the, let's say, the adequate for to Apple and to Google on the iPhones is maybe Microsoft and SAP in the business world. And this is also where they're looking into a lot. So with Microsoft, there is an Copilot Studio, for example, and SAP is just introducing their own Joule, let's say, agent builder, which is also brand new. It's not released yet, but they're moving toward the same direction. There is a speech assistant. It's Joule in the SAP world, and there is also in Microsoft world, of course, it's a bit different. So they are building a kind of a dataverse. So also Microsoft and SAP, which are, let's say, are able to work together and, let's say, build something on data. And that's also, especially also for the area of procurement, a big change, because makes really the speech assistants really available to do simplified tasks and use a very, let's say, easy way of dealing with my tasks. So because there is a very easy interface right now to an intelligent system. And I think that's a very, very big difference now. And for us, in terms of we are automating procurement, especially such an agent can help a lot to have someone. For us, it's kind of a digital buyer who's taking over and that task, because he's pretty much able to understand what this is all about and can deliver a lot of value in this process, and can do much more than just doing a single thing. He's doing a bunch of things, and let's say, and helping through such a complete buying process. And that's, from my perspective, it's opening a new door. So right now, that's the cool thing about agents. It's oh wow, okay, wow, there is really new things we can do in here, and that can create a so much better user experience in the very end. And that's just for us, and it's just for others as well. So I was just recently talking to a CPO from a bigger company. He said, "Wow, the red race is opened." Because basically right now everybody is looking for agents and how to deliver, let's say, great applications. And I think this is an amazing opportunity right now to build something here. And of course, we are doing the same.
Yeah. And I know you are already using agents for quite a while, right? Can you give an example how you were starting to use it?
Yeah. So first of all, I talk to you, of course, because getting some good advice before starting is always a good idea. And so we did when we sat there. Yes, and Kai, you're right. The Ulster is also a river, but it's also a kind of it's also a lake. You're true. So basically, it was the Binnen Ulster in that sense. And so it's always good to, let's say, think about, all right, what do we want to achieve with this? What should be the goal? And also elaborate a bit. Okay, what am I doing with this agent? And for us, it was pretty much, let's say, of course, we built an MVP and just figure out, does this work very well? And we were
What was
at explore.
what was Andreas, what was your use case where you started? Maybe we start there.
Yeah, of course we can do that. So we started with the use case, of course, that if you want to buy something in a company, it's very hard in the first place to define what you want to do, what you want to buy. So there's the very, very common use case is, all right, I need a table. It's sent to procurement, and procurement says, oh wow, a table. What kind of a table? Yeah. And that's a very easy use case for starting with AI. So we start exploring this. You can use LLMs, just asking, okay, what kind of table? What is the size? What is the color? What is the material? Is there a specific brand? Whatever stuff. Yeah. So there's things, just as a very easy example here, where an AI can help a lot, or already doing this. And this is where we started going into this. But it was kind of a move, getting the next level from LLM, as you just said in the very beginning, doing a simple thing and just moving to a full agent. So meaning, all right, we are using that tool and pretty much making it an agent that can deal with the full thing and giving up also a bit of the control. And that's of course what you need to deal with. So and it's not easy, because sometimes systems are still very much hallucinating and doing not always really cool things. Yeah. And you need to get this under control. And I think this is what you just said. So multi-agents also play a very, very big role to handle these kind of complex tasks. So agents controlling agents, because sometimes they just don't do the right things. And so you need to do this right. But when you do this right, it's an amazing outcome. And so what we're basically building with an agent is kind of a digital buyer who is able to do the full process, coming from process on the one hand, process definition, not process, but the demand description, what this is all about. There is another agent that is able to, let's say, pull data from an offer, for example. There's another one. Then in the process, we see what is kind of the category, for example. So the agent is triggering a tender in the very back, so that the demand is tendered. And there's also in the end an agent who is doing the negotiation with the supplier. So there's a couple of things you can do, and where you can plug things together. It was very interesting to see when we started into this, and of course, as when you start exploring things, you're going to start, for example, with OpenAI Playground, and see, all right, you build something there and see. But we saw very early the limitations. So in Playground, it's not possible yet that one agent is talking to another. So even though it was presumed, okay, I would just expect this, but it's not there yet. And so in that case, so we learned, all right, we need to build something out here. And there's just little standards. There is some frameworks for AI, let's say, for also building these agents in that sense. So where you need to also think, does it really make sense to use such a framework, or does it really not work for us? So in the end, we decided not to use one of these frameworks, because we found out that it will be over complex for what we're doing, and it's not really very feasible in the sense as that they're built right now with a good use case. But I pretty much expect that for many other use cases, it will be a very reasonable step to speed up also the development to use these kind of frameworks. So what is your experience with agent frameworks? Do you have any experience? Did you work with one of them yet?
Yeah, we worked with several, and my experience is there is not the one framework which fits all the different use cases and companies. It's similar to the selection of a LLM and an assistant technology, that you have to see what is right, what is not right. And as said, looking into these frameworks, you currently have some limitations, that you don't have all the connectors, all the integrations which you need, or that you don't have all the capabilities which you need, that you have agent frameworks which focus, for example, on text and documents. That's a lot, because that's the use cases which are also very valuable. But interesting is when you create pictures or videos or text on a voice level, where you can, for example, simulate a phone call, or where you can create content for social media autonomously. So that's really interesting, and where currently not a lot of these frameworks support these use cases. And then, of course, what is always a limitation is the, as you said, the interaction between the different agents, so that you build these networks. And what I found very interesting about mysupply, and why I'm a really big fan, is that you are not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk and developing agents which actually are able to also exchange information during the negotiation. And that is very fascinating because by that time when we were talking about it, it was quite unique on the market. And I'm really fascinated if there are teams who actually solve this, because it's a huge benefit when you can leverage this information as a real buyer. When you say, "How, I just got another better price next to door. I can't tell you what, but I can integrate it into my discussion and
Yeah,
either push a bit more or try to get to an agreement where I say, this price is already really, really good, so let's try to fix the deal." So
yeah,
maybe
yes.
can you share a bit of the secrets? How did you do that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really really cool use case. So of course, on the one hand, you need to learn how to make also agents talk to each other and build something on a also on a global data base, basically, or let's say on data that can be shared between the different instances. Of course, this is something we need to deal with. But what is really cool about this also is if you're looking to the future, what makes it, let's say, what this easy interface makes also possible. And that's really cool because let's say not everybody wants to participate in an auction and also do these kind of things. So people are used to talk about
Mhm,
things. And this is the same with suppliers. And I think that's also one of the really cool things. So we don't have that yet, but looking into the future. So as you said, phone calls is a big topic here. And so also in terms of negotiation, so you can do, if you want to, 10,000 phone calls in parallel, chatting with different suppliers at the same time, and in the end, consolidating all these information that you receive right now. And there's a really big leverage that is possible when you think further about this idea, how you can parallelize things and how an agent. So it's just the same person basically doing phone calls to many people at the same time, understanding all the different information you receive and acting accordingly. And that's
mhm,
that's really a cool thing. So of course you can do it in written word with an agent or typing, but you can even think about further having, let's say, even multi-dimensional negotiations. And looking into how procurement is normally working, then it's, of course, we're talking in many cases about if you have a complex situation, there is different rooms. Yeah, there's one room where people are sitting and you're talking to them and getting an offer. Then you're getting to the next room and doing this. And it takes quite a long time to
mhm,
exchange these kind of envelopes and so even though with auctions it's possible to do it on a price only. So that's what an auction can basically deliver. So you have a competition basically on one factor, but the cool thing is an agent can do this on very many. And so it's a multi-dimensional negotiation that's also possible there. And we're pretty much working towards this. So that you have a chance basically to take all the advantages that you can take from an auction, and with an agent, you can take it so much further and bring it absolutely to the next level or even above. And if you once then even want to go one step further after this, we're not talking about one to many negotiations, multi-dimensional. You can at a certain point think about also end-to-end negotiations, where you have several buyers and several suppliers in the same room. And this is also something which was never possible this way, because on the market, you're also as a buyer, sometimes you're not alone. So there's not everybody waiting for you. So you have a splitted competition on both sides. You're competing for the demand, and on the same time, let's say there's also a competition on the supply. So
mhm.
this makes it possible to have multi-dimensional negotiations end to end, and that was never possible before. So we're not there yet. Yeah. and people can sometimes hardly imagine. But if you think this further, this is basically becoming a very huge thing in terms of how you can potentially negotiate things and what agent can make possible. So this is where I'm thinking about when it comes to negotiation, and we're just going there, I think, step by step. So doing multi-dimensional negotiations in the first place on with one party, and then with more parties, step by step, and enriching this basically to such a network of possibilities. And yeah,
Yeah,
that will
it
be
sounds
really cool.
exciting. That sounds really exciting. No, and I fully agree. What really drives me is the topic of value. So, because I see that a lot of companies don't even negotiate really because they don't have the time, and they don't know whom to talk to. So I think there's a real huge value if you at least take the whatever agent and say, can you do something about it? So it's I think really important to reduce the barrier of using this technology as much as possible, right? So integrate it into anything which I already use, as you said, into the store of
Yeah,
SAP, or make it buyable available. And that's also a trend where I see people don't like this complexity. They like really simple buy buttons where they say, I want to hire an procurement expert who supports me with this tender or with my daily work, and
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
can directly input everything into my SAP and knows how to do it, and helps me with this whole process. So, and then just give me a button, I click on it, and then it's there. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. By the way, I can invite everyone who has a question, just put it into the chat, and we try to get back to this and try to answer your question. So feel invited to ask whatever you like to. Um, yeah, but just you said what you said is just something I completely agree with. So we're not always, when it comes to an agent, we're talking about a very huge, complex thing. So I think there is very easy ways what everybody can do. So especially looking for asset for the Microsoft Studio, for example. So Copilot Studio. So that's an easy way, and let's see. So I'm expecting a bit similar things also in the SAP world with the Joule Agents Builder. But everybody can basically, it's a no code solution or low code solution if you want to, and everybody can just very easily build his own solutions based on that. And I want to make everybody a bit curious about what is possible here. So you don't need to always talk about a very complex sourcing process or whatever. So it's always just something you can very easily step into. Just say, "Wow, I want to tell these tell these agents about these kind of things. I train it. I train him on certain things, and then it's also an easy low code solution can be a very big added value, even though it's just not immediately solving all your problems, but it's very cool to just explore it, figure out how it works. And then with every evolution step, it takes you one level further. And that's really a very big difference. So my perspective was the last half year already changed a lot. So when we discussed this, when we sat together last summer, it was a different world at that point in time. It wasn't working as it works now.
Mhm.
So the models have been hallucinating so much more, and they were very little reliable on this one. And it has improved a lot, and we learned all a lot. And so I think what will be in half a year will be
Yeah.
even more curious.
And you didn't have the interfaces, right? So you had these
Mm,
frameworks, but it was all on a coding base. So you could
mm,
click it all together, but you had to know how to use it, and had to know to use the technology. But currently, and this is what we see this year, that you get a lot of solutions in the market space where you can really plug and play it together, as you said, with no code, low code, which makes it really accessible to everybody who's just curious and has some time to read a quick introduction or watch a video and then just try it out. I did it also. We are also using AI agents in our daily work. So doing all these analysis, we are also looking into different startups and identify, is there a competition? What's the market size and so on. And in the past, it was very cumbersome to do it manually. And currently, it's just a click of a button. Just go do it. Go, Tiger,
yeah,
run.
absolutely. Steffen, so I want you to look into a glass bowl, basically, and
Hmm.
telling me, okay, what do you think will happen in 3 years? So how will be agents used in about 3 years? What do you think?
Oh, that's a very good question because I was in a school last week and on a talk. And they had the same question and also said, what should I learn today? Because everything will be automated. When I look into my bowl, I see a huge shift in how we do our work. So I see that lots of the work will be automated. A huge amount of the decisions will be automated. And Gardner and Forrester have a similar view on this. They think like 15 to 20% of the decisions will be optimized. I think it's even very conservative. It could be even more. So I think the how we do the work will shift. We will not lose jobs, but it will more be a transformation. And as it has been said on the AI Action Summit, no jobs will be replaced. It will just be transformed. So the question is, do you know how to use this technology and use the agents as a coworker to really get more productive, more effective, and have more time for the important things in life, like friends and family or sports or whatever. And I think that's something which I can clearly foresee. And then I do hope, and I think it's also going to happen, that we will talk about the impact on the society, on what does it mean for us all, and that we talk about how can we leverage this technology also to address the big topics and the big problems in this world, and not just the small ones.
Yes, absolutely. Fully agreed here. Um, Yeah, maybe it would be also very interesting to think about, okay, what are the big players in the market using their basically their competitive advantage they're currently having with having all an iPhone on the market like Apple and of course also Google use in that regard. So I can pretty much can also imagine there will be an app store for agent, so kind of an agent store.
Yeah, absolutely. It's already happening, and it's just a
Oh,
competition of the different marketplaces, and they are all very, very crowded. So you don't really
cool.
know, is it really a good product or a really good agent? It's more like a collection of people who are just scraping the web or using agents to make directories of agents. Yeah, but I fully agree. This is going to be more professional in the future, that you can really hire a certified person with a specific set of knowledge and also of experience, where you even have a proof that this is going to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what
and yeah.
what is your view on the future? If you look into three years ahead from now, will there be a marketplace for mysupply procurement agent, or what do you think?
I think pretty much it will be. I think everybody who is clear about this that it's only working on a kind of a partner approach. So as let's say, for example, Apple is doing it already now, and others are doing already now. Let's say like Microsoft and SAP, they will open up for let's say in a standardized way also for integrating uh, partner agents, so that
Mhm.
you're just talking, let's say, to the SAP agent, that you're only talking to the Apple agent, but in the back, there is a multi-agent dealing with the services you booked at a certain provider. So this is what I of course I see that these huge companies want to of course be the core and
Mhm.
deal with the core and of course get the fees by the agents that you're integrating here. And a bit like Apple did it already with the store, I just basically see most likely the same coming over there. What I looked for also when we looked for, okay, how do we set up the interfaces also in our system? So we have one agent where we have the REST APIs, and then there is another agent talking to this one. We were looking for is there a kind of a standard for an API interface, for example? So for now, I didn't see any. And so would be interesting to learn about this. Is this involving? Because basically it's a plug and play system. So it's come on, it's an agent where you throw a message over and you get something back. So it's a very very easy thing which you can basically standardize. So didn't see anything so far, but I think there will be soon a standard between how agents would talk to each other. And based on a standard, I can imagine that the development also will speed up a lot. But there will be these, let's say, certified spaces, as you have this with Apple, as we have this with SAP then in the future. And of course, we're checking, and therefore we get some money for getting you in our ecosystem. So I think, especially looking at these big oligopoles, about these big players in the market, so agents will, let's even support their market strengths, I fear a bit. But there is still a lot of room here for many different providers, also like us, for providing a really, really cool service, being plugged in into something bigger, so to speak. So this is how I, on the let's say on the technical integration level, so how I see things are evolving. But I think people will stare less on their iPhones, maybe talk to a device a bit more. Maybe this will be good
Yeah,
for the eyes.
that would be good. Yes, have more
Absolutely.
time for talking to people.
Absolutely. I think we have one question from the audience, from Reinhold, which we can maybe answer here. So what is your visions of the future, or assuming agents are still there, what makes you so confident? Steffen, I think this is for you.
Yes, that's very easy. I think what is going to happen in the future is that we will see the rise of general artificial intelligence, which is actually an intelligence which can solve everything. But it will not be there in 3 years. So I think in between we will have already AI agents because they are so easy to use and they are so valuable. I think that's what makes me very confident that if we look into the evolution of AI services and products and how it's being packaged and used, I still see huge potential for AI agents, and that we really also see the trend of agent talking to agents, that we see the trend of platforms where they can interact with, that we see the trend that agents are getting a level of confidence, so of a trust seal, let's say, where you can really trust the outcome of these, that we see a trend that agents are making money with agents. And this is all going to happen, and I think it will still be there. What do you think? Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there is, of course, we will all see what will both be happening. I'm pretty sure that agents will play a big role in one way or the other. So I think what we see right now, especially that these interface of talking to machine, is, I think, where speech seems to be the golden way for now. So I don't think there will be glasses where looking into something here, something there. I think it will. This is something I'm not really expecting, but I can imagine that also, let's say, or a brain scan or something is pretty much out of scope. So this is not what I'm seeing here.
No,
I
no, no,
think
it's not out of
let's
scope. It's they are working on it. It's really really crazy how fast the
let's see.
technology
Let's
is
see.
getting there.
Absolutely. Let's see, but let's say on the mid run, I'm expecting that, let's say, speech is a very good way to deal with many
Yeah,
things, and so this
it's
is why I
universal.
think
It's universal.
yes, yes, and of course in both ways. Yeah, in both ways, you can talk to the machine, a machine can talk on your behalf to someone else, and so on. And so I pretty much think that will be play a big role in the next years, and I think it's a big chance for all of us. And of course, starting with maybe ending or what with what we have been saying in the very first place. I just hope that Europe also will play a big role in this, and also people are pretty much encouraged, maybe also by this talk here, to try things out and and figure out what we can do all with AI and learn about this. And yeah, and let's say also put this into the strength of, let's say, making Europe also really an even better place to be, and also make it very powerful also on the economic side. I think there's a lot of things we can do here, and I really hope for that. Stefan,
Absolutely, full agree.
it was a pleasure talking to you. It was so cool. I learned a
Always a
lot.
pleasure with you.
Thank you very much for talking to me today and being with us here. And I wish you, of course, all a very nice day. I hope also you had a good time here in this conversation. And yeah, see you in, of course, maybe in a month with the next season of our webinar and podcast. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thanks, Andreas.
Bye.